Welcome to Tuần-san News of the Week. My name is Lisa Divissi. In what's making headlines this week? Homes lost as land erosion causes scores of houses to sink in Vietnam's southeast. Health officials say 1 in 5 Vietnamese people suffer from high blood pressure. And Chicago police hit back at David Dao in a newly released report over the recent United Airlines scandal. In this week's top story, scores of houses in Vietnam's southwestern province of An Giang were dragged into a riverbank on Saturday due to problems of erosion and unauthorised building. According to local media, the incident saw 70 metres of land sink into the Holt River, also known as the Bassac River, bringing along 14 houses and 2 house floors. A road connecting My Hội Đông commune and Nhân My commune was also damaged and isolated. The damages are estimated to cost a total of 8.8 billion Vietnamese dong, the equivalent of 516,000 Australian dollars. No deaths were reported from Saturday's event, but a state of emergency was declared. It is believed many of the homes were built without proper planning permission and builders ignored the threat of erosion. 19 officials held hostage by Vietnamese villagers have been released in a dramatic end to a land rights dispute near Hanoi. 38 police and security officials were originally held captive by residents of Dong Tam commune earlier this month, after which 16 were released and 3 escaped. The release comes in the wake of a meeting between residents and the Hanoi police chief, who promised not to prosecute the villagers and launch an investigation into the dispute. State media reported the land in question was originally designated for the construction of an airport, which was then abandoned. Authorities then permitted 14 families to build houses on the land, which was then allocated to a military-backed communications company for redevelopment in 2015. One resident in Dong Tam said he was happy the villagers had their voices heard and that the problem will now be solved in a positive way. Vietnamese Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc has arrived in Laos after visiting Cambodia and signing off on cooperation deals with his Cambodian counterpart, Samdech Techo Hun Sen. At the Premier's Peace Palace in Phnom Penh this week, both leaders signed a memorandum of understanding on numerous projects aimed to boost ties between the two countries. The most significant of the pacts was a new 427-metre-long concrete bridge linking Phnom Penh to Ho Chi Minh City via the border city of Ba Viet. Both Mr Phuc and Mr Hun Sen also pledged to facilitate and seek effective measures to boost partnership in potential areas such as trade and investment, transport and education. Mr Phuc is currently in Laos for his first official visit since taking office in April last year. His 2-day visit is expected to create a new driving force for the enhancement of traditional friendship, special solidarity and comprehensive cooperation between the two countries. To what's making news around the world. David Dao, the physician forcibly removed from a United Airlines flight earlier this month, was swinging his arms and balling his fists, according to a newly released police report. The incident report was released along with other documents obtained under the Freedom of Information Act earlier this week. It details an exchange between Mr Dao and an officer who said he attempted to assist Mr Dao off the plane, but he reacted violently. Mr Dao's lawyer, Thomas Demetrio, says the claims are utter nonsense, saying his client suffered a concussion, a broken nose and 2 lost teeth at the hands of Chicago Aviation Police. United Airlines has been highly criticised after the event was filmed by several passengers and released on the internet. Mr Dao says he is filing a lawsuit. To news in Singapore, and 2 Vietnamese nationals along with 2 Singaporeans have been jailed for arranging and entering into a sham marriage. Nguyen Thi Mong Tuyen sought to remain in Singapore by arranging a marriage of convenience through her friend, Truong Thi Kam Nhung, and Truong's husband, Chong Mun Siang. The couple organised for Miss Nguyen to marry 49-year-old Lee Po Chiu in exchange for just under 10,000 Singaporean dollars. Chong and Truong were arrested earlier this week and sentenced to 7 and 6 months imprisonment following the arrest and imprisonment of Lee and Nguyen in early 2015. In 2012, it became a criminal offence to enter into a sham marriage, which carries penalties of up to 10 years jail and $10,000 in fines. Maritime authorities in Malaysia's state of Sabah have detained 8 Vietnamese crew members on board a fishing boat near the island of Pulau Gaya. The vessel, suspected to be fishing illegally in the area, was intercepted by the Sabah Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency while patrolling the area on Monday evening. In a statement, the agency's director said the crew, aged between 20 and 35, had work permits that were expired on December 30th of last year. About 200 kilograms of fresh fish were confiscated, while another 50 kilograms of dried fish were seized. The case is being investigated under Section 8B of the 1985 Fisheries Act for employing illegal foreign workers. An international manhunt has been launched for a Pakistani refugee who is suspected of having killed his German girlfriend of Vietnamese origin. German police released the photo of 29-year-old Shahjahan Butt on Saturday after convincing a local judge to issue an international arrest warrant against the Pakistani national. Due to the country's strict privacy laws, the woman has only been identified as 41-year-old The T. According to local media reports, the couple's friend discovered The T's body on Friday afternoon and alerted police to the flat in Dresden, in the eastern state of Saxony. An autopsy later confirmed the deceased died of a violent death. Authorities have not yet provided any further details on what the arrests entail or any information about the suspect. Back to news in Vietnam. A study conducted over 4 years shows Vietnam experiences low air quality for 50% of the year. According to the World Health Organization, Vietnam is one of the most air-polluted countries in the Asia-Pacific region, with Hanoi named as one of the most polluted cities in the world. The findings were presented at a seminar on Vietnam's air quality by the Vice Chairman of the National Assembly Office. Recent tests conducted show dust concentrations in villages that recycle waste, metal, paper, plastic and batteries have pollution levels that are 8 to 10 times higher than the legal limit. A spokesperson for the Department of Pollution Control said environment regulations were not fully observed, allowing outdated waste handling practices to continue. Vietnam could be blacklisted by the Tokyo MOU if it doesn't improve its shipping standards. The Asia-Pacific region's largest port state control authority said most of the vessels were unfit for service and lacked adequate safety equipment. This year, a record 4.6% of inspected vessels did not meet maritime safety and pollution prevention standards. The authority says if safety standards fail to improve in the second quarter of 2017, they will be subject to stricter measures and more frequent inspections. Health officials say around 12 million Vietnamese people, or about 1 in every 5, currently suffer from high blood pressure. The announcement was made at a conference held by the General Department of Preventative Medicine under Vietnam's Ministry of Health in Hanoi on Tuesday. The deputy head of the department said smoking, alcohol, inadequate nutrition, and lack of physical exercise contributed largely to the alarming figure. According to a survey conducted by the Ministry of Health, up to 60% of the estimated 12 million people have not been diagnosed and over 80% have not been treated. At the same time, up to 79% of people at risk from cardiovascular diseases have not sought professional help. Hypertension is the leading cause of strokes and heart attacks that cause hundreds of thousands of deaths and disabilities every year. That's all from TV Tuần-san News of the Week. For more stories, you can follow TV Tuần-san at tvtsonline.com.au and Facebook at TV Tuần-san. I'm Lisa Divissi. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to your company at the same time.